Hi there.
Right there.
Hi.
Yeah, I see. We see. I'm going to find my phone. I don't know where it's gotten to.
So who is reporting here as a Zoom user? Can that person give me their name, please?
No.
May I know who is reporting here as a Zoom user?
You mean in my Google account?
Hey, Michael, Zoom user is probably me, Nathan Luckow with Prism Construction.
What's your name again, sir?
Nathan Luckow, Luckow, with Prism Construction.
And Adam Luckow is here as well with Prism Construction.
The one ending in 229. What did you say your name was again, sir?
Adam Luckow with Prism Construction.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, it looks like we have everyone.
We do, Madam Chair.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and start the recording?
It has been started, I believe.
Okay, I didn't see a red. Oh, here it is. I see it. Thank you. Okay, are we all set? Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, February 13th, 2025, called to order at 1:02 p.m. And I will go ahead and call roll. Terry Majewski is here. Jen Mulder.
Here.
Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Joel Ireland.
Here.
And Andrew Christopher.
Here.
And just for the record, Ricky Riojas is no longer on plans review, so we have a full contingent of 5. Thanks. The next item is number 2, review and approval of the 1/28/2025 legal action report and minutes. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please? Anyone?
This is Jan. I'll move to approve the LAR from January 28th as submitted, 25.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. Savannah.
Thank you. Okay, is there discussion? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry votes aye. Jan?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
And Andrew?
Aye.
Thank you. The LAR/minutes for 1/28/25 are approved as submitted. Thank you. Item 3 is historic preservation zone review cases, and we review these under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0 Historic District Design Guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior Standards and Guidelines. Case 3A is SD 1124 000123/TC-RES-1024-05953 at 925 North 3rd Avenue. This is for construction of a new accessory dwelling unit, windows, fencing, garage door, pool deck, concrete stairs, and landscaping. It's a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Michael, do you want to brief the subcommittee before we begin?
Yes, Madam Chair. This item was reviewed by West University Historic Preservation, West University Historic Zone Advisory Board on December the 10th, 2024. Unfortunately, this was not uploaded to as part of the review materials. I just sent it to all the PRS members, but I will read the conclusion, the action taken by West University on that day. It was reviewed and recommended for approval as submitted with the following comments: that the garage door to be a roll-up door with similar pattern as presented. The east elevation clear glass space allow for swing or sliding door entry. Fencing can be handled as a minor review at a future date. That was the action taken by West University, and they voted 5-0
To approve, yes?
to approve.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. And who will be presenting on this case?
I'm the homeowner, Stacy Cochran here, property owner, and I'm joined by architect Bill Ford on the call. I'm going to let Bill take the lead with this. If we need to bring up the elevations and all that information, I have that, but I'm sure Bill has it too.
Yeah, we'll need to have that, and Michael will share.
Yeah, I will make, who's starting off? Bill? So I will make Bill.
I'll post it in the chat.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Ford, I have a question before you begin. What is your architectural firm, just so I have it correct for the minutes?
It's WLFA and Associates LLC.
Thank you.
You're not the co-host, Bill.
What's that? Okay. So should I share screen?
Sure.
Okay, give me a minute to remember. Let's see how this share.
I've also posted it over in the chat, Bill, if anybody wants to just bring it up on your own computers and see the plans we're going to go through.
Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Whoops. So this is the initial set that I had done. I don't know if we need to look at it, but this is a set that Stacy did to augment it. It basically has a lot of detailed information about the property and the surroundings. My set is just the building, the site plan, the floor plans, cross section, the elevations, and some renderings. And this, I don't know why that's there. That was a separate electrical permit.
Okay, if you could just run through things and describe the project, please.
Yes, so this is called a coach house, which basically it's an apartment on top of a garage with a laundry. You can see it is set back to the rear of the property. It has setbacks that are appropriate for the height, and it has a rear setback that follows the prevailing setbacks in the alleyway. The height, which was approved by West University, is based on other similar heights in the neighborhood, which Stacy went into more detail about if we need to revisit that. It is designed to overlook this pool area between the coach house and the main house. So it has one elevation that's not seen from the neighborhood that it has a little bit more modern glass and openings. Other than that, the whole entire building is seen from the neighborhood is compatible with what's seen around in the surroundings. It's compatible with the house. It follows the same roof design, the same stucco finishes. The floor plan has a garage on the base and a landing that faces the pool towards the house, and it has some space for utility area for the owners. And then it has are we calling this a guest house or a rental, Stacy?
Like guest house is fine.
It's basically a guest house. I think Stacy plans to use it for guests, use it for himself, possibly rent it. The underlying zoning is R3, which actually allows quite a bit of uses and latitudes around heights and such. But we're sticking primarily with the heights of R1 and R2 in the compatibility of the historic district. So the height here is shown just a hair above the R1 and R2 requirement, which is, I believe, is 21 feet, 24 feet, Michael, or 25 feet? Anyways, if it weren't in a historic district, Stacy would be allowed 40 feet because of the R3 designation. But since it's in a historic neighborhood, it has to follow the compatibility within that neighborhood, prevailing heights and setbacks and so on. You can see the floor plan. I can zoom in just to get a little better view. It's basically laid out like an efficiency type of living environment, which could serve the uses I pointed out. And you can see the porch overlooking the pool. And this one section of opening and window, which is designed for a more open, modern appearance. And again, which is not visible from any part of the neighborhood. I'm going to go back to, I can figure out how to do this. And these are the elevations. Again, you can see the roof pattern, shape, geometry. It's what you would expect to see in the historic neighborhoods and surrounding historic neighborhoods. There was a question about the fence, but it's basically a wood slat fence. And these are the doors that West University noted, the garage doors. And these are the side elevations. There's a small porch off the alley. The window geometry follows what's in the surrounding neighborhood. The east elevation, you can see at the upper level, you don't really see a definition of windows because the whole wall is pretty much filled with glass. But other than that, from all vantage points and viewpoints, looking at the house, it's going to appear to be compatible. And these are some renderings that I did. So, I don't know if we need to go into detail about the narrative response, which basically covers all of the major points of review, the height, the setbacks, the proportion, the roof types, site utilization, projections, recession, building form, rhythm, additional review standards. I'm pretty sure I covered all those points, and I'm certain that the building conforms to all of those design guidelines as it's written in the response portion of the narrative. So we request approval, follow up on West University's approval, and I believe the city is in agreement. We'd like to move forward with this design, and I'd like to open it up to any questions or comments that you have.
Thanks, Mr. Ford. Before we start, I just want to say that I don't know if you're fully aware that the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board and PRS are independent review boards, and we both of our recommendations are submitted to the planning director who makes the decision. So this is a completely independent review. So, while we ask for the motion of the advisory board, we're not held to agree with that, though we tend to take their comments into consideration. So let's go ahead and start with questions. Who would like to begin?
Terry, this is Joel.
Yes, go ahead.
Could we see the east elevation of the main house? Is there a picture of that in the application?
You can see it in this rendering right here. That screen wall doesn't exist. Stacy hasn't built it yet, but it doesn't show the whole elevation. There's not an elevation per se here with the elevations, but this gives an indication of how the two relate together.
Well,
I think he asked for the east elevation.
The front.
Oh, the front
front of
elevation.
the main house.
I think that might be Stacy did.
Yeah, so that photograph that you just showed there a moment
This
ago,
one?
hold right there. That in the yellow circle is 925 North Third Avenue. That's the main house that I'm sitting in right this moment, looking out on Third Avenue as we're having this meeting. So I'm sitting right over to right kind of underneath the solar panels. The coach house will be built on the sort of the top end of the frame, and the elevation on the main house is 23 feet. 23 feet from the build side of the home. Now, keep in mind, the build side of the home is also elevated 3 feet from the sidewalk, from the front, from the street. So the actual lot that the house is built on is elevated 3 feet off of the sidewalk and off of the main road. So all total from the road, it's about 26, 27 feet. The historic home that I purchased a half decade ago.
Okay, I'm frankly, I live in West University and I'm just trying to remember what house this is, and I can't quite place it. It's directly west of me, but
Do you know where Time Market is?
yeah, of course.
So I'm a block and a half north of Time Market.
I could look it up for you, Joel.
Yeah, maybe
are
a Google
Are you
Street
north
View
of
would help.
Second Street?
There was a couple of questions there. I'm sorry, I couldn't distinguish them.
I was just suggesting Google Street View or something, because we're missing that
Yeah.
elevation in the presentation.
We have that as well. It's in the slides that I prepared, Bill. So if you can kind of go slowly through those.
Can you see the this street view here?
No, we're looking at your renderings.
Oh, you are. I wonder why this isn't visible. Okay. Yeah, because I brought up a street. I have two dual monitors here.
Here,
You
I'll
have
pull
to
it.
share the active window. So unshare and reshare.
Okay. Let's see.
And I'm happy to pull up my slides too.
Jason,
Well-
you want me to make you the co-host?
Are you north of Second Street or south of Second Street?
He's north.
Oh, okay,
It's about a block and a half south of Speedway.
yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah, it's too bad you can't see this
But,
picture I've got
uh,
up. I'm just wondering why the whole screen doesn't show.
I would stop sharing, and then when you go to reshare, pick the window that you want to share, which is probably your browser.
Okay, so I can
And I have
stop
my
it
slides
there.
open on my end. If you'll pause for a second, Bill, I'm happy to bring up mine and kind of give my, homeowner's perspective on this and the 3 years that we've been working on this. Well, there we go.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, so that's it. That's looking south on Third Avenue, and that's looking north on Third Avenue. And then I think you can even maybe see what's across the street. There's a 2-story structure right there. And
yeah, I see now. I now I now know the house. Thank you.
yeah,
Got it.
okay.
Appreciate
So I'll go back to the drawings.
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Thank you.
So could you share do we have the development zone?
Yeah, I've got that on my slides. And Bill's kind of zooming through them.
Oh,
Bill,
there it is.
if
This is the development zone here.
yeah, so one of the questions that Woos have brought up 3 years ago when I first presented this was the height of the coach house. So the height is 25 feet, which is within the precedents set in our development zone. There's a house that my good neighbor Teresa at 901 North 3rd Avenue owns, which is at 25 feet. And then you all, I'm sure, are familiar, if you know West University, with 503 East 2nd Street, which is in our development zone. And that house is built at 25 or higher. It actually looks a little bit higher, quite frankly. And those are two precedents within our development zone for height alone.
And those are primary residents?
Yes.
Those examples? Are
Yeah.
there examples of ADUs that are 25 feet?
Yep. If you scroll forward one slide, Bill.
This one?
One more, please. Okay, so pause on this one. This is just a Zillow image rendering. If you look at the yellow circle on the right side of the frame, middle of the property or middle of the picture, that's 920 North 3rd Avenue that has an ADU that was built, I believe, in 2006 is the date on that. And the accessory dwelling unit, if you go forward one more image, you'll see is behind the primary residence there. I took several photographs of that. So it's what I would describe as a less aesthetically pleasing version of what we're designing. They did a single car garage with a studio apartment upstairs. And I think there's a small apartment downstairs as well on that ADU. Which is not even, it's not, it sounds like, Joel, you're familiar with the neighborhood, and you probably know, you'd have to look pretty hard to even see that unit is back there behind the main house. And the primary.
And you're very generous in your description, actually. Yeah, I know that well, yeah.
And what's the height on the ADU?
The height on that ADU is, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's probably close to 25 as that 2-story. And the primary residence, which I'm looking at right through my front window here, and we have a photograph of that. It's the central photograph in the bottom of the bottom 3 is actually much lower in height. The primary residence at 902 is much lower in height than my primary residence, which is at 23 feet. Again, from the build site, which is 3 feet higher than at street level. So the point is, it will, as Bill said earlier, it will not be visible, or Coach House will not be visible from 3rd Avenue. Even though I think it's beautiful enough that it probably should be, but that's my own personal opinion.
All right, so I have a few more questions, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
The front house, Is there any work that you're doing to it, the primary residence?
None.
None. And it is stucco and a shingle roof?
That's correct.
What is the slope of the shingle roof? I mean, it looks like in the renderings you're matching, but is that the intent with the ADUs, the same slope?
That's exactly correct. I don't know the slope. Bill may have that information, but it's compatible with the primary residence. The
And
coach
is
house.
the
It's
stucco
probably,
and shingle as well?
Yes.
For the ADU?
That's correct.
Are you proposing matching?
Ideally, yeah. Yes.
Trying to think of my other questions on the agenda. It noted, well, let's talk about the windows. They're clad windows. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. The fencing is, you said, was wood slat, and the garage door, also, is it, what material is the garage door?
It's, the intent is to look like an older door. We're not exactly sure if we're going to get something pressed out of metal, which would be preferable than wood, because it's facing like due west. It's going to get blasted with the west sun. We need to be careful with it.
So it's is it still a little to be determined? It says.
We have to find something that matches the description that Winner was requesting. Yes.
That West University was requesting. They said something about a roll up.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
they said garage door to be a roll-up with similar pattern as presented.
Which would be a sectional door if that was the case. Yeah. As opposed to like a tilt up.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it sounds like what you're showing is fine with them, but they just want to confirm the final decision is as close to that as possible. Is that right? Okay.
No, they didn't ask for a minor review on the garage door, but we could if we wanted.
That's
they
sort
should-
of where I was heading, because it seems just
Yeah,
like
no,
it's
I
just
think
still a
that's fine
little
because, yeah.
nebulous as to what it could be. I mean, I think you know what you want. And it sounds like everyone's on the same page, but like getting the final sign off via minor review sounds like the right approach.
Yeah.
Also listed in the agenda, it says pool deck. Is that part of this scope and our review?
Yeah, that's incorrect. I don't know who added that. Maybe that was an error on Michael's part. I'm not sure. The pool deck is
Okay.
done. The pool is
Okay.
built.
Mm-hmm. What's
It
that?
also says concrete stairs and landscaping. Is that part of this scope and review?
The stairs are, but I don't think the landscaping would be part of this.
Okay. The concrete stairs, might those be the ones up to the second floor?
That's
that-
exactly right, Savannah.
Are those concrete?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all the questions I had, just trying to understand the
Well,
scope. I'll let.
Can I ask a question? I'm not really wedded to a specific style of garage door. Like my heart's not going to break if it's a roll up or if it's not. If there's a recommendation that that you have with the city, I'm happy to adhere to your guidance on that.
I can't think off the top of my head what the West University guidelines would include for that. Joel, do you know, or maybe Andrew?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. I don't. It's very much varied, and they're often just tin, corrugated tin. So it's
I mean,
just all over the place.
something with like panelized, like you're showing, that has some architectural detail and relief, I think is the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Joel, it sounds like you'd be amenable to a simpler flat panel, solid panel door.
Those are there are a lot of those in the West University. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because if we,
I don't think they would offend our historical guidelines at all, but because they're everywhere.
If it simplifies everything, I could just describe it as a sectional, solid, flat metal clad door with a brown color. It looks like a wood color, like a rust color.
Seems
Something-
like if we're changing, or if we're proposing something radically different from what West University, it just seems like then we'd be forcing it to go back to them if we're just kind of.
Not necessarily, Jan. No,
Okay.
it
Okay.
wouldn't. I mean, we can, because the director will make a decision.
But it's not like we have a preference, so it seems just kind of unusual that we'd say it could be this, it could be that.
Agreed. I mean, then we say that in the motion,
Yeah.
so, because we're already, if we go with what West University says for a minor review for the fencing detail,
Right.
then we could add something on the door as well.
It just
But
do
it
them
would be,
together.
yeah, it would be in response, if the director went with that, it would be in response to the director's decision, whatever
Right.
they said, and then when the applicant gets that letter, then they would come up with their final design, it seems. But, well, let's think about that and see if others have questions. Savannah, did you finish yours?
I think that was it. I mean, the only thing I see is, that the stair that projects out is perhaps missing a like guard railing. Right, you've got the handrail, but no like fall protection. So I was curious what that would look like. There's balcony railing. So is it going to be something like that?
That's the intent, yes.
Okay. And that's just like it's like a tube steel railing, or what is that material?
There'll be vertical posts, and then there'll be cables connected
Oh,
posts,
cable rail?
cable rail, yeah.
Is there a precedent for that in West University?
Again, it's not something that you can see from
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
mostly
view.
curious.
points, but I don't know if there's a precedent per se. It's not, it's a modern expression.
Yeah, just to confirm what Bill is saying and to acknowledge what was stated earlier, I do understand these are two separate reviews. However, West University Zoning Historic Advisory Board did raise that as a point of discussion. They were perfectly fine with it, understanding that that railing is not going to be visible because it's in an interior courtyard space, essentially behind the primary property. And in fact, they seem, from my perspective, they seem quite encouraging of something that was a little bit more modern in design with the railing.
Okay, Savannah, are you good for now?
I'm
You can
done.
always-
Yeah, sorry, I'll let others go. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, we have Jan and Andrew to weigh in.
Yeah, sure, I can go. The only thing I kind of noticed was on the arches. I don't know that this style of arch is really appropriate to the house. The front porch has like a very flat arch with just rounded corners, and not the like elliptical shape. Would you guys be amenable to doing arches kind of more similar in style to the front of the house on like the porch openings?
Bill, if I could, as the homeowner, I would prefer to go with the design that Bill has drawn up. I mean, I'm looking at our front porch right now, or right across my laptop computer as we're sitting here. And you're right, it does have the rounded corners. It's flat across the central part. Again, like the garage door, it's not going to break my heart if we have to go a little bit flatter, but aesthetically, I think it is compatible with the main house. And it, quite frankly, looks a little bit more pleasing to me, the designs that Bill has drawn up. But if that's a sticking point, I'm happy to comply.
Yeah, the front porch, it's really completely horizontal. It goes flat from one column to the next. It just has a little slight round as it transitions to the column.
Right. Yeah, I think my feeling is that would be a more appropriate treatment to these arches, but open to what the other commissioners feel about it. And then the other thing that's super minor, on the garage door, I didn't see anything in the WUZAB guidelines relative to what that door has to be. It just mentions that it needs to be like, not at the front of the house. So I think you've accomplished that. So I'm good with what you're proposing. And if you did some sort of like braced design or whatever, I think the braces would be mirrored of what they are. But if you don't do that, then it doesn't matter. I think
If you
that's
want to recommend, Andrew, if you want to make that part of your recommendation to match the porch opening on the main house, we can certainly do that if Stacy's amenable to it.
okay. Yeah, I'll see what the other commissioners feel on it. If no one else feels strongly about it, we don't need to do that. But that's all I had. Jan, if you
Okay.
have anything.
Yeah, Jen?
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. Those windows, the way they're configured, is one thing that just kind of popped out at me as kind of discordant in terms of a historical feature. So I agree with Andrew's comment that it would be nice to recommend something closer to the configuration on the front porch. I guess with the garage doors, if those and the fence are kind of in limbo and come back for a minor review, I mean, that makes sense. And then you can sort through all the style options you're considering, and a minor review would be pretty quick.
Question, Jan, if I can interrupt
Oh.
for a second. Use the word windows
Oh,
compatible.
excuse me. I think those are all porch openings. I'm sorry.
Yes, so you mean the
Yeah,
arches.
I mean the arches that are on all the porch openings.
Okay,
I
great.
did have one question about West University's comment about those eastern doors and kind of what's going on. I can't quite follow that. Are those the ones they said something about a slider or a swing, or is that a lower elevation door?
Those are the glass openings on the east elevation of the porch that's behind the porch opening, that is not going to be visible from any place in the neighborhood, which we're just indicating is all glass.
And what was the point they were making? I'm sorry, but we just got these things from West University, so I didn't do a count.
I think they were concerned that they didn't want the main doorway to be sliding, that they wanted a swing integrated.
They said east elevation, clear glass space allow for swing or sliding door entry. That was in their motion.
Yeah, I think they were just questionable about how we were going to access it.
Yeah, to push back a little bit on what you're saying, Bill. Yeah, my understanding was they were open to either, which is reflected in your comments there.
In the motion, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I just had one question about what is the actual height of the primary residence?
Again,
I understand that it sits above the street, but what's the height of the house?
23.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to discuss just among subcommittee members what a motion might look like? So I would ask applicants, once we start that discussion, that's our discussion for the motion. So go ahead.
Yeah, I have a start. I mean, I definitely prefer Andrew's suggestion, and especially in terms of the kind of the storytelling of the site and tying the two structures together of the flatter porch arch. So I'm happy to include that in a motion. And then the other items being, come back for minor review on the final proposed garage door and fencing designs, and then to note that the pool deck and landscaping is not reviewed.
Yeah, I'm good with that. What about the rest of you?
Yes, I would second that motion.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but it's not made yet formally.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
she's
good.
just,
Maybe that the pool deck and pool are already, I mean, they're just not, they're not reviewed. It's that they're not They've already been constructed, so we're not. They're-
Okay, not reviewed. Yeah,
previous-
what should I say about that? Are already constructed and not reviewed?
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah.
case with the landscaping too?
Or the landscaping just isn't reviewed for whatever reason.
Okay.
Should we
Oh, I
include
have one other question
the,
for clarification based on what was presented. There was something about the parking out on Hoff. And I noted when I walked by that you had a large parking area that was taking a bite out of, I think, the property. I'm assuming the fence is going to move out toward Hoff. But then there was something about preserving parking, and it's just more curious what you were getting at.
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, the existing fence, Bill, you have the specifications on the actual length, but I want to say it's 17 feet from the property line presently. So the current fence that's there, which is a cedar plank fence, is, I want to say 17 feet from the west edge of the property. I think the proposed coach house will build over that existing fence, which will be demolished by about 2 feet or 3 feet, which would leave us with 15 feet or 12 and a half, something like that. Bill, you know the numbers better than I do of a setback, which would allow for further parking, although we don't need that many parking spaces. It would allow for an additional 5 potential parking spaces outside of the coach house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to clarify since it was a little unusual. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Savannah.
One final question, because I just noticed it. The narrative says that the height is 25 feet 6 inches, but the drawings say 25 feet. Is the drawing the right?
It might have gotten
Maybe that's a weather vane.
typo. I think 25, remember 25 foot 6 inches.
We don't have to count the weather vane.
Yeah.
It is 25
We need
6.
as much as we can get because otherwise we won't be able to do 8-foot ceilings. We won't be able to have an attractive looking pitch if we have to lower it.
So it's the 25 feet 6 inches is the correct
Yes.
one.
Yes.
How do we feel about that, commissioners? And should we note that's the maximum it should be changed on the drawings, or?
I would feel comfortable with stating a maximum because I feel it's too high, but I can see what they're getting at.
State the 25 as the max or 25 6?
25 6. That's okay. I mean, that's de minimis, especially in that corner. That other house that he showed us is much higher than that. It's probably even 30 feet. So
But
yeah, so
a
25,
little high.
25 6.
I feel like we are sort of lacking that information on our development zone comparables.
Yeah, that was the question I had, both the specifics and then, honestly, how many of these were actually permitted structures, because that also goes on.
I mean, that's true. I mean, but the other house he showed, as I say, I walk by there daily, walking my dogs, and that's a terrible, and it's a way high building. I bet my house it's over 28 feet. So 6 more inches, and this is a beautiful plan. I just don't think anybody in Wuna will be.
Well, it wasn't mentioned. It wasn't mentioned by them. So they
We
said
assume
that
that it was fine.
they had a discussion of building height as compared to contributing building height. Carriage house will not be visible from 3rd Avenue. So if that's still the case, I mean, basically, I think we could say we approve of that height as the maximum, but that the house will not be visible from 3rd Avenue. I mean, so I think, if the director wants to ask more questions on that, I mean, I think we have to be very careful about these ADUs because they're going to be popping up everywhere.
Mhm.
And that the box like one built into 2006, I believe they said, is an eyesore, in my opinion. So for the neighborhood. So anyway, go ahead with what you prepared. What you
If
want to
you
say?
guys are good, I'll make the motion. Does that sound?
Okay.
We're ready?
I've got to go in a
Go
second.
for it.
Oh, what was that, Joel?
I've got to go in a second, so I'm hoping we can get to a motion.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
Thank
that. Sorry. Okay. On the matter of SD dash 1124 dash 000123 slash TC dash RES dash 1024 dash 05953 at 925 North Third Avenue. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions: that the ADU match the primary residence porch arches that have a flatter top, that the maximum height be 25 feet 6 inches and drawings be updated to match, that the applicant come back for a minor review for final proposed garage door and fencing designs, and to note that the already constructed pool deck and proposed landscaping is not reviewed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, that was Joel.
Yes.
Okay, is there further discussion?
What was the second one? Between the minor review and the flat arches?
That the maximum height be 25 feet 6 inches
Oh,
and
okay.
drawings be updated to match.
I'm just wondering, can you?
Okay, sir, we're right in the middle of a motion. We can't have any questions right now. We're taking action. So it's discussion among the subcommittee members. Okay, so subcommittee members, do you have any further discussion, or shall I call the vote?
Good.
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote. Terry votes aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Joel,
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Andrew.
And I'm
Okay.
sorry, I have to, Terry, I have to excuse myself for 20 minutes, as I noted. I've got a meeting about my project, so
Okay, Joel off
Got it.
at 1:47, and then you're coming back on?
yes.
Okay, thanks.
Huh.
All right, so the motion passes. Do
Thank you
you
all.
understand the next steps on this?
Yes.
Okay, and Michael will be in touch with you when the director's letter is ready, decision is made, and then there's a review period, or there's a period to allow for any appeals to be made. Is that correct, Michael?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right. Well, good luck with your project, and then we'll see you again at a minor review.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great week.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's move on to item 3B, which is SD 0424-00036 / TC-COM-0224-00276 at 350 South Convent. This is a zoning violation. Replaced wood front door with transom with new steel door design without historic approval or permit. At issue is the design, material compatibility, and court action. Review for full code compliance. This is a full review in the Barrio Historical Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource in rehabilitation standards. And Michael, do you want to give us some background, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. This project has been reviewed, started as a minor review. We did about 3 minor reviews on this. The applicant requested to go for a full review and has done a full review with the Barrio Historic Zone Advisory Board. Last time, at the last meeting, myself and Commissioner Rojas updated the board as to what her findings during the minor review was, and I presented this issue to the board, and you were able, to the subcommittee, you were able to get the plans reviewed. This particular issue is in court. The court has given some guidance as to what the applicants need to do. At issue is just replacement of the door. There was an existing door at 350 South Convent, which actually had which was a wood transom door that was removed and replaced by an inappropriate door. So today, the owner, Betsy, is here to present to you a new proposal because they are going to take out the non-compliant door and to replace the door with a wood door with transom on top, which is what the borough had requested, that they do not support the door to be left in there. The door needs to be removed and it should be replaced with an appropriate door that is within the development zone. For this particular project, the development zone is basically South Convent from Cushing right up to Simpson. On both sides of Convent Avenue, there are so many doors with wood doors with transom on top, which Betsy is going to show you. And she's also going to present to you her proposal, what she's proposing to replace as a new door. So what staff is expecting from you is to review the proposal that Betsy is going to present to you, whether you feel that if she replaces the door with the new proposal, that will be okay or not. That is what I can say to you today. If there are any specific questions, I can answer before Betsy can do her presentation.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Rawlings, with your presentation.
Hello. I submitted a PDF, which I'm wondering if you have in front of you or not.
They do.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, as when I first spoke to Michael and to Maria about this zoning violation in January, a person who leases this space from us had begun a permit to have a wood door that's sheathed in steel without a transom reviewed through the process, which Michael described where that, how far that got. By January, we had a zoning violation that the court had given us extra times for the review. However, the date that the judge had said that the violation needed to be abated was January 31st. And when I spoke to our tenant, I could see that this was not going to be passed through a review in that time period. And so my family's business, the owner of the property, Bacon Industries, we decided to speak to planning, then they suggested that we revise the permit. And as I said to Michael and Maria in January, we would present you with a proposal that is in compliance with zoning and that we can execute prior to the date that the judge had given us, which is what we did. And I just want to start when you're talking about the UDC that we knew from the neighborhood.
Betsy, you need to share your screen though.
Pardon me?
You need to share your screen.
Yeah, just Betsy, if you can just show us the doors, because our remit here is to look at the door you propose, the old door, the current door that's going to be replaced, and what you propose for the replacement. And that's what we will be weighing in on.
Yeah,
Well,
if you tell me how to share that on my screen, I have the new design package on my desktop. So I see it says share, a green arrow at the bottom. And where do I just drag this into that window, or how do I share it?
You click on that share button.
I clicked on it.
And then on your computer will show what you have, and you'll click on that and it will come up.
Or if
It,
Beth is having trouble,
it says PDF reader unknown. Should I just click? I mean, it uses the PDF reader.
can someone else bring it up for you, Betsy? Can, Michael, can you bring it up?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Computer is going to die down.
Yeah, it's right in the design package under 3B. I
Yeah.
looked at it and that's how I lost the meeting for like a minute.
Thank you, Michael.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, but not the whole thing. You need to go to the upper right and make the full screen. Or if you go to view options, full
Yeah.
screen.
Great.
You just tell me where you want me to be, Betsy.
Okay, I would say that start back. Okay, let's start at the top. The development zone, as Michael said, if you look at this, the pink line, in the heart of that is a green building, and that is the building which is where the doorway is. On the east elevation on Convent, which runs north and south, there's one exterior door, and on the south elevation, there are two exterior doors. And the next picture is an aerial photograph showing the building on the corner. And there's a little red arrow. There are two doors on the south elevation along with windows, but these two doors are the doors that our proposal is to duplicate these two doors right here. And if you go to the next elevation, there'll be pictures of those further along. This is the doorway that will have a replacement door. And Michael, I really appreciate you doing this. On the left beneath it is a door that used to be there sometime after 1978, because it is not the same door on the SHPO photograph. And then this door next to it that is the steel sheathed door, a wood sheathed with steel door, that the transom was removed in 2023. And in April of last year, as a zoning inspector noticed it and tagged it for violation. In the first review that I'm aware of that happened in the neighborhood, they were working with the tenant to make sure that if there were a possibility of him being able to modify this door, that he could. And they suggested that they oxidize it so that it rusted and looked more like wood, which is the picture below. And that is how the door looks today.
Okay.
And that is the elevation below it. So now what we're suggesting in order to resolve this, and according to the UDC, this is a door which is identical to the two on the front. This is one of the doors on the front of the building that has a transom. And then Michael, if you don't mind scrolling down to the next picture, That's the same door with that transom that's been there at least 50 years. And if you scroll one more down, this is the second door, which is, it never had a transom, but both of the doors have the same panels, and we can easily rebuild the transom, which is our intention. And to replace the door, we definitely would like to have 4 days to accommodate that. And a week from this coming Monday is when we need to see the judge. But this here, the last two photographs in this line of photos is a building two buildings north at 330 South Convent. This is the transom that we would rebuild one like this with the panel door below. And we want to keep it simple. And in the alterations or additions to a contributing property shall reflect the architectural style and characteristics of the existing structure. And so we definitely would like to have a door on the third exterior street elevation that is the same as the other two. So that's our plan A, which I know complies with zoning. Our tenant made a request, which I think is reasonable, a modification, which when I first spoke with Michael, he suggested you could do it as a plan B, where if you look at the door, if we scroll back up, Michael, to the door we want to put in, or it's this door here, that one that you just passed, the second tier down from the top in the center, we would have a pane of glass so that he could look out from inside to see who's approaching. And then the next photograph below this picture is a door handle, which Bhatti Indian Arts has had on their business. Mark told me it's been 75 years. And so we would either propose the door without modification, or if we believe the modifications would be reasonable, and that as a group, between the neighbors, the previous applicant, the owner, planning, the court, if we can move forward and if we could get your support today, this violation can be abated and we can move forward without it taking up more people's time. And I guess if you have questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, Betsy, you have two options, A and B, and this one that's showing right there is A.
How about this, Michael? Will you scroll down a little bit more? This door here, without the bars, and remember back in 50 years ago in the barrio, there wasn't as much glass on the street, and certainly bars, and there was screen on this one as well. The transom we would build would be a similar proportion dimensionally to the door, but it would be just glass. There would not be screen or bars in it, but the door would be like this door. And so all three would be identical. Okay,
so option A is this picture without the screen. It would just be a glass. Would there be lights in the glass, or would it just be glass?
No, it would just be a glass transom above that door.
Okay, and so then B is no transom above, but.
Oh, no, there's a transom in B. It would be identical to what you just described, but in the second tier from the top in the middle would be a pane of glass.
Right, so it would be all the second row down of the panels, there would be glass all the way across?
No, one pane right here, the second down in the middle.
The second down in the middle, and then you would want to put that new or that, the door handle on this.
Exactly.
Okay, so commissioners, you've got A and B, and I suppose we could suggest some sort of, I mean, you could have A with the door handle, right? Instead of that glass panel on the second row down in B. You know,
You
so,
could-
okay, let's have
exactly.
questions then. Yeah.
Okay.
And let's go ahead, and who wants to start?
I'll start. I mean, it just seems like you're putting it back the way it was. A or B sounds fine to me.
Thank you.
This is
You're-
Jan.
Yeah,
Oh, I favor A. I'm fine with the door handle. I appreciate some of the other ironwork that's kind of fantastical in the barrio that you guys have. I'm not having that glass pane in the middle of the door. Just, I understand why he wants it, but it doesn't seem to fit.
no,
And the
What
handle
about-
is reversible too. I mean, somebody could change
Yeah,
their mind and do
exactly.
something else. So I'm fine with the handle, but less so with that pane of glass.
Okay, and I have a question. I mean, could a peephole be put in, you know, a little thing in one of the panels rather than a whole glass panel?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a logical modification as well.
Because it just would look so odd if there would, I think, don't you think, commissioners, to have a glass panel there in the middle of the second row of panels?
Yeah,
I
I
do.
agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of precedent for doors that have vision lights in them in the barrio, but they're typically like a half light and then it's a paneled door below. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else, Jan?
No, that's it. And I think a peephole is a great idea.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm good. The option A with the transom and the solid door is good with me.
And adding a peephole and using that handle?
Yeah, peephole and handle are good.
Okay, does someone want to make that motion then?
I can do it.
Okay,
Should I mention, there's nothing in the document, is there actual option A and option B explicitly described in the document, or
Yes.
should I even
If you-
reference it?
If we scroll up, there we have them, Plan A and Plan B.
Okay,
okay, so basically, I think you could just say a combination of Plan A and B with X, Y, and Z in it. Does that make sense? We want to be clear, so there's, you know,
so a combo of Plan A and Plan B with a 15 panel door, glass transom above, decorative handle, and peephole.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Just a minute. All right, well, on the matter of SD-042-00036/TC-COM-0224-00276 at 350 South Convent Avenue. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented, as a combination of Plan A and B, which would be the solid 15 panel door with the glass transom above, and the decorative handle and peephole as proposed.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got Andrew. All right, is there any discussion? And I want to be sure there's 3, 6, are there 15 panels or is it only 12?
15.
Okay, all right, just be sure. All right, any further discussion? If not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
And I'm going to note that Commissioner Ireland not present for the vote, so it's passes 4-0. Now, Betsy, you know the next steps, right? Michael, you will do whatever with the director to get the information to the judge in this case as soon as possible?
We'll do our best.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael, I
Well,
have one question. So should we wait until we hear from the
No,
planning
no.
director?
No. The court action is independent of what they are doing here. There is a code enforcement staff that is working with you and working with us. On the day of your court, please make sure you go to court. The code enforcement staff will normally tell the judge what has happened today. We will relay that information to the code enforcement staff, and the code enforcement staff will be in court with you, and the judge will be aware of that. What this is going to do is just that this is going to prevent the judge from putting fines on you any further because you're in the process of complying. You're going to take out the red door, you're going to put in this new door with the court enforcement staff who goes to court is going to inform the judge about that. But if you have any court hearing, please, by all means, do go to court. Don't sit waiting for a decision from here before you go to court.
Oh, but can we change the door next week before court or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, great.
You have heard what they are asking you to do here. And that is exactly what you will be expected to do. So yes, you can switch the door.
We'll do that next week. It'll be done before the hearing. And thank you, Michael. I know that's been a long journey for you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Betsy, and thanks for taking such good care with this, upfront property there in the barrio. So it's important. And thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Terry.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And if you have any question, you can just call me or call Maria and we'll help you out.
You've been great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Betsy.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we haven't seen Joel yet, right? He's not back. I just want to be sure we don't miss him. All right, let's go back then to item 3C, which is SD 0225-0021/TC-COM-0224-00276 at 197 North Church Avenue. This is for a metal plaque sign to be installed in the Pocket Park along Church Avenue and Washington Street. Sign is developed by the Daughters of the American Revolution and recognizes the 250th birthday of the country while recognizing the early residents of Tucson, and it's donated by Pomeroy Foundation. This is a full review. It's an RNA and it's in the RNA and the El Presidio Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Michael, could you provide review, or is Maria providing that? Is she here?
No, I will provide you with
Great.
I'm here too.
Yes, Emmy, we know you are here to present the project.
Yes.
So this is a project that when Emmy talked to the chair and myself, she's interested in putting this up. We've gone through a little bit of staff misunderstanding here and there. When Emmy submitted this, the sign code looked at it and said it is just a plaque, it's not a sign. And so the sign code will not review it. But because it is in the historic preservation zone, historic preservation, we have to review it. So we are reviewing this because the sign code has no comments on this. If not, you would have had a staff from science to present to you. But the sign code consider it just a plaque and therefore not subject to review. So you are reviewing this because it is in an HPZ. And then because this sign needs to be put up by a certain date, following the calendar, Emmy is coming to you today for plans review, but will subsequently go back to air procedure. Normally, we are doing this out of sequence just to catch up with the time that this sign has to be put up. So it is just a plaque as was sent to you. Emmy will present to you what it is, and that is where we are going to go with that. So Emmy, I am going to make you the co-host here so you can share your screen and do your presentation to the subcommittee.
Okay.
You should be good to go.
Okay. Hello all, my name is Amy Hartman Gordon. I'm the director of the Presidio Museum, which is located on the block that you're familiar with in downtown Tucson, which is surrounded by Court Avenue, Washington Street, and Church Avenue. Thank you to Michael for this. As he mentioned, I didn't quite know how to go through this process, and we had some bumps along the road. There was an initial thought about trying to have it ready in time for a small event coming up. We'll see how that plays out today. But essentially, I'm almost the messenger here for the folks who put this sign together. I'm going to keep scrolling down. As I mentioned, here's the Presidio Museum. This is the front of the museum on Court. And the address for this sign that we're talking about really doesn't actually exist, but the technical address is 197 North Church, which is the back side of the museum. And there's a little pocket park right here in this area. And the sign itself is one of a series of signs that they're putting up around the country. This one would recognize the support given by the early residents of the Tucson Presidio to the King of Spain, who gave it to support the American Revolution. So you can see the text there, and then it already sits in my office, the sign. This is the photograph of the actual area. And then here's the actual sign. So the DAR kind of, they kind of did this without really, communicating very well. So this was kind of more like, oh, here's a sign that we're donating to you, and can you please put it up? And there wasn't a lot of thought about, the process of how to go through the permitting. But here we are. And so we're requesting permission to put it up in that along Church Avenue.
Well, Amy, we appreciate you going through the process, because you and I and Michael have been emailing back and forth about this. And, it's really important that we sort of get on record that we've looked at this and talked with you about it. And sorry about the issues that you had to go through, but now you'll know in the future if you have another one. So,
well, I do feel, I was completely ignorant of how to do this. So I know I made some mistakes along the way.
well, but thanks for responding to Michael's comment, his requests and so forth. So how do you feel about the sign and the text? Are you okay with it?
Yeah, the text was run by us and involved some of our local, our historians who are involved in the museum, and a couple that are really involved in the Sons of the American Revolution. And so this has all been vetted in terms of the, accuracy of the sign. I'm gonna tell you guys honestly, it's a little big, but here it is. So, I think we can make it work in the pocket park without, kind of by setting it back and trying to kind of not have it be right on the edge of the sidewalk.
Well, it's probably safer too to have it back a little bit, and then you'll just keep that landscaping trimmed down.
Yeah, nothing would really change in the park itself in terms of land. Honestly, as a side note, that that pocket park is an issue because it's kind of become a homeless area. So the more stuff we can make it welcoming, the better.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let me ask commissioners if you have questions. Does anyone have a question? Andrew, do you?
I just saw in the application you may have an archaeologist on site for the
Well, and
digging of
again,
the
this is
hole.
kind of my ignorance. I wasn't sure how that part worked. I can, if that is something that needs to be done, I can absolutely call Desert Archaeology, and I think I can fast track that.
Okay.
We will have to dig a post hole.
Yeah, I'm ignorant to that too. I don't know if anyone else knows if that would be required or not.
Yeah, because this is an archaeological sensitivity zone, and they are going to dig in order to put the sign. It definitely will require, I will check with the staff reviewing archaeology right now in the city to know whether maybe you are going to hire a monitor on the spot or not, depending on how far you go down. But because this is an archaeological sensitivity zone, that is one of the requirements that will normally be part of the decision letter.
Yeah,
And we
thank
can let you know whether you need to hire one or not.
Mhm.
And I
Do you
think you
need-
have done a lot of projects with the Tucson Museum of Art that they might have already been coverage for the archaeology or some of the things that you have done. I don't know. I don't review those, but I'll put you in touch with somebody who will review those.
Great.
So Michael, do we need to mention that in our motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Andrew, anything else? That was a great catch.
That's it.
Okay, Jan?
I just want to clarify, I know there's a lot of kind of monuments right there on the ground, but this is going to be up on a post.
Correct.
Do you know how big is the sign and how high is it going to be? You said you're going to set it back, which I think is a great idea because it just on its face, it seems imposing compared to what else
Yeah.
is going on there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I'm sorry, it's not in this photograph, but there is a sign kind of more on the corner that is from the Historical Society that's been up for probably a decade, which is describing the Presidio site and what those adobe walls are that people are looking at. So I kind of want to separate this a little bit and, like I said, kind of see if we can set it back. The actual dimensions are 31 wide and 27 high, 31 inches and by 27 inches.
That is
Wow.
quite
Yeah.
large.
Yeah.
It's big and
Big.
5.5 feet off the ground.
Yeah, and that was just based, I mean, again, I have this, the whole thing came like all together. Like I have the plaque, I have this enormous post, and I think I'm being, it basically directs us to make a post hole. So doing the math, it's going to end up being about 5.5 feet.
Wow. I
Wow.
guess I'd feel more comfortable, yeah, with it stuffed back in the corner by the plant and down away and down lower. And
That's
It is
fine.
really large. Do you know how far back the other sign that you're talking about
It's pretty
is?
it's like right on the corner.
Right on the corner.
but it's
Yeah.
about the Presidio.
It's
kind-
probably,
and-
yeah, and it's
yeah.
maybe 2/3 as big as this.
Yeah, but I'd want that one to be more prominent.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe we can
Um,
say that in the motion and, do you have to make it up so high off the ground, Amy, or can you bring it down a little bit?
Yeah, I think we could. I don't think there's any reason not to. I mean, I would probably ask the guys who do it to like just cut the post
Yeah.
so we don't have to dig as deep.
Right.
This is Joel.
What-
I just got back.
I got
Okay,
you.
well, we're just about ready finishing discussing this case, Joel, so you'll have to follow along and
Yeah.
either not vote or vote if you feel comfortable. So,
I
someone-
support this. I like this, and
yeah,
I've
well,
s-
we're just
I went
talking
over
about
this.
placement.
Here it
Yeah,
is.
we're just talking about placement right now. I mean, we could include that in the motion to give Amy some,
Yeah.
oomph on that because
Support,
it's just,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
really,
actually, that would be great.
yeah, and maybe mention the other sign that talks about the Presidio so that we'd want to, the placement of this sign should be balanced against the other sign and not take away its prominence or complement its prominence or something.
Something like lower and further
Set
back.
back.
And
set back.
and separated. Yeah.
Yeah, so who would like to make that motion? Savannah, did you weigh in already?
Yeah, I was actually just trying to type it up now. What the location and the height should be secondary to the existing, but what do we want to say exactly?
I think the sign should be set back and the height should be lowered. I mean, should be low enough to balance its location with the more prominent sign about the Presidio itself or something. Does that work?
To
Something like that.
reduce
Yeah.
its prominence or something in
Amy,
relation.
Amy, can the size of the sign be the plaque be reduced, or it's already made?
It is made,
already
you know,
made.
if you were really felt strongly about it, you know, as I said, I kind of feel like I'm the messenger here, and we could say, you know, can you make one that's smaller?
No, I think it would work. Do you, commissioners, if it's set back and
Yeah.
lowered? Because then it'll take up a good portion of that space, which solves another one of your issues there for inappropriate use of that little area.
It's proposed to be set back 24 inches from the sidewalk edge, is that right? And so we would say like possibly further than that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go back to this map up here. So like really anywhere kind of along these trees, I think would work.
Okay.
Would we want it, yeah, a little farther? Should I say anything about the distance from the existing Presidio
That-
sign?
Yeah, the existing sign is like way up here on the corner.
Okay, so further south?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how about if we said it was somewhere beyond the halfway point of that open space toward the building or something, just to get it back? I realize then it starts interfering with the structure too, but
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second, I'm real close. And then the other point is that we would like to see the pulse hole digging to be observed by an archaeologist.
Monitored by an archaeologist.
Monitored, good word. Okay. Okay, I think I'm good to go. Should we check this first? I have, apart from the archaeologist point, that the sign should be set further than the 24 inches from the sidewalk edge, lower than the 5.5 feet in height, and further south to reduce its prominence relative to the existing Presidio sign.
that's good.
Did I capture it all? Okay, okay,
We can use
Why
farther.
don't you say historical society sign?
okay.
Yeah, and if we could use farther instead of further, because farther is about distance than further. That makes sense.
Farther.
And further
You're
is
good,
like,
Terry. You're good.
I'm sorry, that's just, I'm obsessed with that.
I'm an architect. I can't even spell right, so.
But I can't draw like you do either, so.
All right.
Terry is going to review it anyway.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well, it's
Great,
nice. It's
great
nice when
motion.
she fixes my grammar and everything ahead of time. Okay,
You're
perfect.
laughing.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
on the matter of, where are we now? SD-022-00021/TC-COM/0224-00276 at 197 North Church Avenue. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following notes: that we would like to see the post hole digging to be monitored by an archaeologist, and that the sign should be set further back than the 24 inches from the sidewalk edge, lower than the 5.5 feet in height, and farther south to reduce its prominence relative to the existing historical society sign.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. It's Jan.
Okay, is there further discussion? Okay, if not, I'm gonna go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Joel,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Jan.
Aye.
Great. So the motion passes unanimously 5-0. And Michael, I noted that Joel came back about 2:22 p.m. Is that
Yeah,
jive with what you have?
I had him as 2:21.
2:20. Oh, let's go with yours. Okay. All right. Well, it passed unanimously, Amy, and Michael will tell you the next steps if you don't know them already.
Thank you so much, folks.
Emily, I'm going
Appreciate
to
it.
schedule. I already sent a notice to Air Procedure. I'm going to schedule you for another review by Air Procedure. Can happen pretty quickly. So
Okay.
I'm just waiting for them to confirm the date, and I'll catch up with you.
Okay. Fantastic.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Take care, Amy.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Okay, so we're on to our fourth case here, and that is item 3D, TPCHC 0125-00011 at 182 North Court Avenue. This is a courtesy review for a proposal for the Soledad Jacome House 1874, proposed modifications for accessibility and adaptive reuse. And Michael, do you have background on this?
I just will be relating what I was talking with Michael today. So he has an owner who wants to buy this house, this property, and Michael is just here today to make sure that the new use of the property will be feasible, because if not, they will not buy it, which is mainly on the accessibility ramp that he's proposing, that is likely to change a bit on the configuration of the structure. And that accessibility ramp being proposed is actually a deal breaker here because of the kind of business and what the prospective owner wants to do. So you're not making any motion, or you're not taking any action. He's just here to get a feel for what you would think if he buys this and they come back for a review, what would be the outcome? So
Michael, you're saying that if they can't do their proposed modifications, then it's a deal breaker for
the owner, because then they'll probably not buy the property.
Right, but it's not, you're not weighing in on whether it's appropriate or inappropriate, correct?
He's just wanting to get a feedback from you. That would be a decision to be made by him, not by staff.
Okay, all right, so let's go ahead, and Michael Becker is here to present, correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
And have you shared the screen with Michael?
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Go for it, Michael.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. Many of you know I was formerly on PRS, so I understand the time and attention this takes. So again, thank you very much. Like Michael mentioned, so we had a client come to us. So I'm sorry, I'm Michael Becker. I'm a architect and partner with Swaim Associates. And we had a client come to us who is looking at purchasing 182 North Court. Sydney Duncan, she owns W Boutique, an existing business. She wants to open a second location in downtown. She had actually approached Rio Nuevo about this, and thankfully Chairman McCusker referred her to us to make sure that that what she wants to do to the property would be appropriate, and she could get a permit and make the modifications, which is why I'm here today. I'll have a brief presentation. I will keep this brief because I know it's already been a long day, and we all have other things to do. So let me share my screen and we'll jump right in. Let's see. There it is. Okay, so you should see some text on your screen right now.
Yes.
Great. So it is 182 Court Avenue. What we're talking about today is primarily accessibility improvements. If she purchases the property, she will want to do some other improvements, but obviously we would come back for that. This is the major one. It does affect what I feel is a character defining feature. So I have concerns about this, but I don't see another way to do what we need to do to make the property accessible. And that's purely what this is about. So Sydney Duncan, she wants to open a home goods store. So this is a retail store that's open to the public. It requires accessibility into the building. The building only has access to Court Avenue. So it's completely landlocked on the north, on the east, and the south. And I'll show you that. The building is currently not accessible. There's a lawyer's office in there that's been in there. It's been a lawyer's office since 1960, and I'll show you that drawing. So we do have some documentation of the history of the property. But again, it currently is not accessible at all. We did do some additional research at AHS to see this feature that I'll be talking about. It's a planter in front of the house. We could not find any additional photographs from either 1960 or prior to that. So, and again, from what I can tell, this particular feature has been there since prior to 1960. I do not know when it was added to the property. And then, like I said before, the accessibility is required. So if there's generally, what I'm looking for today is just some feedback on the solution. And if there's concern that it's just going to damage the property too much, then, she's going to move on and look for something else. But she very much likes this property. It's a great location for her. There's a lot of commercial development happening in there and adaptive reuse of a lot of those properties. So it's actually a great location for what she wants to do. So with that, this is just the map guide. This red square is the property that we're talking about. Here's Court Avenue. The Transamerica building is here. So we're directly north of the Transamerica building on Court Avenue. This is a photograph of the front of the building. And what we're talking about primarily today is this facade. As I said, the Transamerica building wraps two sides of the building, the south and the east. And then the house to the north obviously blocks access there. I will say the previous owner and the current buyer have asked the Transamerica building if they could have access through their site or have an easement or purchase some of their property, and the answer has been no. So the Transamerica owner will not allow us to use their property for access. They do not want to give up their rights in the future. So again, here's just a photograph from looking up the street. You can see the kind of character and nature of that planter with the building behind it. And then this is looking north. Again, just same sort of feature. And what you're seeing just to the right of us right here, that is, again, one of the structural columns of the Transamerica building next door. So this is the plan as it exists today. I've sort of blacked out the three sides, and you can see Court Avenue along the front. This is the planter that we're discussing with the existing stair here. We have about a 3-foot discrepancy between the sidewalk and the current finished floor of the building. This does come back into a really nice courtyard here. There is a fig tree here that was actually mentioned in some of the historic material that we looked up. That fig tree is at least 130 years old. So obviously we'll be saving that. And much of these modifications, you see this wall here, I'll show you another plan in a second, that was all added and changed in the 60s. From the Sanborn maps for a very long time, all you see is these two rooms for, probably, the entire time there are Sanborn maps, we see those two rooms. And then, when we get to the final map, it's still there. And then, at some point, obviously, the Transamerica building was built and changed things a bit. This is a little fuzzy because this is the 1960 drawing that I was talking about. I rotated this because the next few drawings, I wanted to get as big as I could so everybody could see clearly. And the next few drawings are going to be the same scale and the same orientation. So north is now to the left. I just want to be very clear about that. I've rotated it to make the image larger for you. And this is, again, the renovation drawing from the 1960s that added some features and remodeled the interior. It shows the cap on that stucco wall right here. There's a note here that's fuzzy, but generally says that the wall is to be repaired. The existing wall is to be repaired. So that tells me that in 1960, that wall was there, and obviously was there prior to 1960. So I just want to be very clear and honest about what this is and how long it's been there as far as I can tell. This is another drawing of the current conditions. So we went out there and did some field measurements. One notable change is at some point they did get some additional space here, probably when the Transamerica building was constructed. Because if we jump down, we've got a little more width here than the original condition. This circle, that is again that column. So that is a hard limit for us in terms of going south on the court in terms of any changes or expansion. And again, the property line is somewhere in here. I'm assuming at some point it was modified. At this point, that's sort of irrelevant. We have the space we have, I think, at this point. And again, you can see very clearly the space that planter occupies. So we went round and round with this. Just so you understand, 3 feet of vertical rise requires at least 36 feet of a horizontal ramp. All right. So for every inch we need to go up, you need 1 foot of horizontal ramp to do that. So as you can understand, this becomes a very, very large structure. And what we're trying to do is integrate it within the architecture, minimize the impact on the building, but then be able to get somebody up that distance in a wheelchair, and frankly, it's not just wheelchairs. Anybody with mobility issues that has trouble with stairs, the ramp would obviously be helpful. So this is the design that we've come up with. The only place we can see where a ramp fits, frankly, is in the planter itself. So what we're proposing to do is to remove the end wall of the planter here and to open a portion of the planter here. We would then basically, within the space where the dirt currently is, we would have a landing at the end that is flush with the sidewalk. Then we come up to a midpoint landing, which is required. We come up again to this landing, which gets us up about 30 inches. Because then as we come up the stairs to a common landing in this area, we actually need another section of ramp to get up the rest of the way to be at the finished floor of the existing building. So we're sort of threading this through the existing structures and trying to manage these slope changes and these elevation changes. We are off the end of the wall, the planter wall. This is a railing. I have an elevation of this I'll show you, but I want to describe it. There's a railing here. This is a flat area. And then the stair is narrowed, but it still is 3'6", which is narrow, but it's still compliant. It still works for exiting. And then this ends up being about 3'6" here, which also is accessible and meets the standards. Within the amount of space we have, again, that's about as good as we can get, and it does comply with the building code. So we jump.
Michael, where would the entrance, the walking entrance, not the disabled entrance, be?
It's
Or would
these
they be the
stairs
same?
right here.
And then you go up and around the back, or you go up the rest of the ramp and then turn left and go in somewhere, or you go in right there?
Just like that. Let me go back, Terry, and show you that.
Yeah, is that the patio? Okay.
So this is the existing plan. We're not changing much on the interior organization. The way it works now and the way it has always worked is this building was always entered from the back. So you come up these stairs through this existing gate, you walk through this courtyard into this reception area. This is all glass right now. And then at that point, you're inside the building, and this is all the same elevation. So,
right.
Does that help?
Oh, yeah. So that's, I mean, it's an unusual thing anyway, but the way the entrance is mirrors the historic nature of the building, right?
Yes.
And so the only openings would be where you showed them, but you would still keep the front of the building essentially, well, the front that faces court, right?
Yes.
Essentially the same. So I'm thinking, yeah.
We're not proposing any changes to the actual structure itself at this time.
Yeah, go back to the drawing that showed the ramp. You see, I have no issues with the commissioners. I think it's a creative solution, because you still keep the feeling of the planters there, right? I mean, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. What are the rest of your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree completely, Terry. I mean, it's so hard to make these buildings, universally accessible. It would always be a priority and a goal of mine, but there's very few that it works out. And it seems like this is a unique opportunity with a planter wall there, and especially if it can be preserved, and then also, complying with the exiting and the widths that are needed. Seems to work out perfectly to me. I like it a lot.
Right, and we don't really know, I mean, if the wall, the planter wall was there in 1960, it needed to be repaired, as Michael mentioned, then it had been there a while if it needed to be repaired, probably. And so it still is probably, I don't know if it's outside the period of significance for El Presidio. You know, we don't know that because I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's clearly a little bit earlier than 1960, right? So it's still a nice way. I mean, we've looked at so many properties that, with the addition of needed accessibility and the fact that it's sort of disrespectful to gulag disabled folks like to the side entrance. I mean, this makes sense because the entrance was always back there. You know,
Yes.
it's not like anyone else is going to go in any other way. Does that
Yes.
make sense? So that's why I really do like it. And you know, it keeps a nice something that has been really hampered by that Transamerica building being right there, the giant building. So anyway, that's my thought. Savannah, any other thoughts?
No, 100%
Yeah.
support it though. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Others, Andrew, Jan, Joel?
Yeah, I think it's a great solution. And keeping the wall is, I think to me, the wall is the character defining feature, not necessarily that it's a planter.
Yeah,
I just think
exactly.
the technical challenge for you is going to be this wall is probably retaining to some degree, and I wouldn't imagine the footings are that deep, even though they were underpinned at some point. So I'm curious to see how you're gonna solve for that once that's all excavated,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I felt the same
good luck.
thing. And again, sort of for full transparency, you know, we have some more work to do. We need to dig the planner out, you know, but obviously the owner didn't want to invest a lot of money until she had a sense of what would be possible. So I don't know the foundation condition. So that is something we need to verify. The something else I'm not entirely sure about is once we take that dirt out of the planter, there's a good chance that planter wall isn't retaining, but rather leaning, right, back
Yeah.
against the dirt. So, you know, certainly we will do our due diligence, see what condition the wall's in, and if we need to reconstruct parts of it, we may need to take parts of it down and reconstruct it, but just
Yeah.
to make it structurally, you know, basically self-supporting.
Or you
Yeah.
might have to brace it
Yes.
from inside. And I'm just curious now, you probably said this, but I'm brain dead right now. The main building itself is adobe, correct?
Correct.
So it worries me that dirt has been up against that adobe building for a long time, right? From the planner.
Yes. And I didn't see any clear evidence of damage to the adobe at this point. The planner does have drains in the bottom of it, so I do
That's
think,
good.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not,
something to check though. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work over at Suscommittee right now, so I know what
yeah,
damage
and
looks like.
just because I'm surprised if there aren't major drains there that there's no wicking up into the building.
Yeah, actually, you can see
moisture.
them here. Actually, they're
Yeah.
quite clear.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But there's still, some of it's still going to get down there probably. But
Yes.
anyway, it's just something to look into. But I think it's, you know, and if you feel comfortable that you can make that, the height you need to do as you go up the ramp.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, you know, that was part of the scheme. You know, at one point I was about to give up on it, and then I realized, you know, when I could add, you know, again, sort of modify it a bit further and be able to add that next section of ramp. That's what actually makes it work.
Yeah, that's cool. And
Yeah.
you'll run this all by the people that look at such things?
Well, yeah, we'll have structural engineers involved, you know, once it's a project, and
Yeah, I
then
mean,
we'll
code
be,
things, yeah.
I mean, we'll be back too, you know.
Oh,
obviously.
no, I know. But you're under, and I like the fact that you're doing due diligence rather than have an unhappy client.
Yes.
You know, that can do it. So,
yeah.
I
okay,
also
Andrew,
like that little tiny sliver left. It's like a little memory of what it used to be.
yeah, I love
Right
that.
there on the
Yeah.
north. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so, Andrew, do you have anything more? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. Yeah, good luck.
Okay, Jan?
Yeah, I think it's really a pragmatic and thoughtful approach. Yeah, it's the fact that you can pull it off. I'm actually amazed, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and Joel.
Yeah, I think it's great too. And my comment was gonna be along the lines of your comment. I'll bet you money we're helping to save the Adobe front wall from that planter. I'll guarantee you there's been water damage to the Adobe, and I think this helps save the Adobe, historical Adobe. So when you build a planter up against a wall, it always drains into the wall and the foundation.
Yep.
Always. So
No, we
I-
don't know that there's French drains there or anything. There's those drains
Yeah.
that are visible coming out,
could be.
almost like. Yeah, very
I
good.
think,
So,
I think it's clever, and then I think it'll help save the building. So it's great.
yeah.
Great.
So nothing else? I just wanted to say, Michael, thanks for being patient as we work through. I was told one thing and then there was another thing. So it actually came quicker than, but I really support these sort of due diligence projects that eliminate a lot of heartache. If you can have frank discussions up front.
Yeah, no, I was grateful to Fletcher for sending her to us, because certainly, others that aren't as familiar with this process, this could have been a very different conversation. So
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you again. Good luck with
Thank
the
you.
project, and I guess we'll see you again.
You will. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Okay, so we're gonna blast through the rest of this agenda here. Item 4 is public and institutional use in a development zone discussion. Now, we won't have that discussion today, but there's a couple things here. Michael, you said that were you gonna ask Dan Bursick to come back and talk to us?
You just need to tell me, the subcommittee just needs to tell me about which meeting you want him to, and I can let him know.
Can I
Okay.
just speak up since I'm the one that brought this forward?
Yeah, and I was just gonna mention you, Jan, that you only have one more potential
Right.
meeting
And
as a
that,
commissioner.
yeah. So my point was, I brought this forward. There was a lot of energy at some point around this, but part of it was a question of whether this had been something the city had done intentionally or unintentionally. And Dan was pretty clear that his research said this was intentional. And frankly, this isn't something I'm, motivated to lead the charge on. And the fact that I'm cycling off, I think it probably just needs to be dropped from the agenda.
How did the rest of you feel? Commissioners, don't be
Yes.
silent.
I would need a little refresher on the topic. Sorry. I mean, I know it has to do with whether the public institutional buildings are considered within the development zone. Is that right? For a national register?
As comparative properties. So basically, yeah, and so Jan brought it up that there were some that were used and it's allowing for a lot higher structures
Yeah.
in non-commercial, right? And stuff like that. But I mean, I think we've been successful in the past at saying, well, you've got a residence, you can't build it like as tall as that 3-story building.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't lost our right to reject
No, we have
stuff that
discretion still.
Yeah.
But they are saying, I think the when it was originally brought forward, it was kind of like there was a last minute change that was conflating Rio Nuevo and downtown development zones with historic zones and giving them the same definition.
Oh, that's right.
And so that was kind of the whole issue. I mean, we could try and do it next week, but I just think unless somebody else is, in 2 weeks. But and I'm not going to be here probably in 2 weeks. So
see, that's why I was concerned, because we really want you. But we could, if the rest of the commissioners felt strongly, we could have it scheduled when we have a lighter load, and Jan could potentially come as a guest speaker to answer our questions.
Yeah, although as I said, my interest is Wayne, but I can talk to Helen and others and see if it's still. I mean, it's a real issue, but I heard loud and clear from Dan that they were not going to support it. So it's like, is this what we want to take on? That's kind of, after we had our discussion with him, that's kind of how I was feeling. But
yeah, and I kind of feel the same way, that we've been successful in the past at heading this off, but some developer is gonna find a loophole and do
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah,
But,
yeah.
but if PDSD and zoning is not willing to do anything to correct it, I mean, maybe this just isn't the right time. But
Yeah,
I
and
would-
the other thing he'd said was, they weren't gonna do it on its own. I mean, all the lifting would come to us. It could go through potentially as part of their next major code rewrite. So I guess that's the other thing to think about is, do you have a parking lot for potential historic related, preservation related code items that we're interested in, that as they go forward, we at least look at those and
Yeah, well,
think
I think we
about
could ask Michael to create that parking lot for those. And you could mention, because I suspect that there will be some code changes
Mhm.
that have to be made in response to Pima County's extensive changes to their code about the commission and some other things.
Right.
Now, and I think everyone wanted to wait. Now, I mean, more recently, because we didn't want things to be made previously when, there was talk of getting rid of the advisory boards and all that stuff. So we'll have a new HPO, and we've already been promised that we will get to talk to the HPO and help the department have a work plan, whether it's hiring new people, like they're required to hire several more people to get rid of their bad on the bad NEPA coordination for the Silverbell project, right? So have to have an archaeologist and some other things. So, that's my opinion, that we keep this on, and unless we want to, that we take this off, but put it in the parking lot. But you could let Helen and others know that,
Yeah.
because Helen will be involved in that working group working on the
Right.
new HPO work plan,
Yeah, and I'll hold the notes and things I have on that. I won't.
Well,
from
and you could
him.
provide them to
Yeah.
Helen or me, and we could provide them to Michael, or,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to
Yeah.
keep it active,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, and I
and
think Helen has most of the material too, but I'll tell her where it's ended up. I mean, things have just been so crazy the last year. There's no way we even had a place to jam it through except for that one initial discussion with Dan.
yeah, and so, so how do the rest of you feel about removing it from the agenda for now?
I'm fine as long as it becomes an action for someone at some future point, right? Like the HPO, or right, that it doesn't get lost in.
Yeah, if Jan can pass on her notes to Helen, and if Helen wants to talk to me, I'll be part of that group too.
Yeah,
There's
I
gonna be
think
a lot going
Helen
on.
was up to her eyeballs in it, so I'll just let her know kind of where it's ended up. And
Yeah, and we have been fairly successful, but again, things, crazier things have happened.
there's no way it's risen to priority in the last few months. I mean, it's just the last year. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or disagreement about taking it off? Okay, but Michael, temporarily keep it on until Jan can get back to me if there's some, whatever Helen says, but I think we could always put it back on if we take it off for the next meeting, So, and I wanted to say here that Jan, you've been fabulous, and Jan time's out. Her last day is like March 4th. So she won't even be able to be on the next commission meeting. But you've been great, and you could always, take a rest for a year and come back on. She goes, no.
So wait, you're not moving?
Thank you.
I'm not moving.
Oh, you're not moving.
Yeah, no.
So, okay, yeah, we'll see you later.
But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Been wonderful.
Such great comments. And item 5 is task force on inclusivity report recommendations. We just have to deal with this in the next few months, and I'm committed to do that, because now that we've lost Ricky from plans review and the commission, I can still have folks look at it and, go with the least confrontational thing. Just say, here's some best practices we encourage you council members and supervisors to think about. We're just putting a bow on this project.
So it wasn't
And-
any sort of policy, it was just sort of, because
No,
I remember
no,
it
it
being
was,
like a draft of all these ideas. I just,
well, it
what's
was
the,
very, remember Linda Merrill shut it down because she thought that we shouldn't be telling the supervisors anything. Heck, we're telling people things
oh,
all the
okay.
time. They can do, yeah.
I just thought we got too busy. I didn't know it
That's what I
was
thought too.
discouraged.
No, it was no, I was crushed after Linda shut it down because we tried to involve the city and the county in it. But I
Oh,
think we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. I'm going to send a nice little letter. I'll propose that to you guys, and then we'll do it.
okay.
And just so it's like, here's some best practices, and this is a project that we did. It's been sitting around. We want to move it out into the public sphere. And it's about the naming of these buildings, and we're seeing some renamings. I read about it in the newspaper and stuff like that. And hopefully that when they choose the name for a new building, it's not some axe murder, stuff like that. Though, are they? But I think they're always good choices that we've seen, a renaming of parks and things like that. They've been very appropriate. So, because I think I sent the documents out before the report, but I can't remember. It's been a long time. So anyway, we can just put on here, Michael, that I spoke briefly,
Okay.
and then for 4 that Jan spoke. So anyway, item 6, current issues for information discussion. 6A, minor reviews.
Minor reviews, Madam Chair. Just give you a summary of what we did. The last time we did 4 minor reviews for solar panel. Ricky was still available and did those for us at 408 East 16th Street, 809 South 3rd Avenue, 228 South 4th Avenue, and 838 South 2nd Avenue. They were all for solar panel review. Tomorrow, I will be reviewing, I have on-site reviews for 945 North 5th Avenue, 623 North 3rd Avenue for solar. The one for 945 North 5th is for solar. 941 North 6 is for a roof. And 1001 North 3rd is for solar energy. Solar panel. That is all what I have for minor reviews. And
So do you have people to help you?
Andrew has been kind enough to help us review this in advance. So that review is already done. I'm just doing.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Okay.
And then the one in the South 6, Savannah also helped us to review 2 of those.
And we're just doing these sort of in advance without them being on site or at the time, correct?
That is
that's
correct.
okay. That's great.
Yep.
So we may have to do that unless there's some real reason to see it.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Okay, 6B is appeals.
We do not have any appeal at this time.
Okay, 6C, zoning violations.
We continue to do the same thing. You just reviewed one of the zoning violation cases today. Last time you looked at the one in West University, the fraternity, and before then you also look at one in West University. So as soon as we have any of them that require your attention, we bring it up to you.
Okay, and how about that one that I've been talking to you about, Michael, that the applicant put in, didn't complete everything? Has he completed those things?
No, I'm still waiting.
Okay.
As soon as I get it complete, I'll schedule that for West University.
Okay, so because his realtor did say that he had submitted them, but maybe there's confusion. So anyway,
I will take a look at what they think that they have submitted.
okay, or I appreciate that. And she may have been confused. Okay, 6D, review process issues. I just wanted to mention that Jan will officially still be on plans review for the meeting at the end of the month, which is the 27th, right? So that means so that's 5. And so we need, we'll need folks to show up. So,
And if
and
I'm
we
not
can't,
out of town, I'll come, but
yeah, and we can't remove Jan until the next commission meeting in March, which we'll do. But so we'll talk about that a little bit down at under future agenda items, but I just wanted to mention that. Any other review process issues?
Not
No,
that I know.
Terry, there's one in March that I may have to recuse from, so I'll let you know, but I think we should be okay on quorum
Yeah, I
as
do
long
too.
as everyone
If
else is there.
everybody does their best to attend once Jan is off, because then we'll be down to 4, and then we'll have to have 3. We'll have to have 3. And I'm working hard trying to find someone who will commit to plans review on the commission. We may be getting a few new members in, but for right now, and also when you get a new person, there's a learning curve, but some people just jump right in, so that's good. Anything else? If
Yeah,
not,
Terry,
go ahead.
I can be there the 27th, but I think La Rosa, the monastery, is coming back, which I can't. Is that right, Michael? For
That's
some
not correct.
changes.
No,
So I don't know if that's
no, it's
would have enough people.
we're looking at that as a minor review.
Oh, okay. That'd be good.
That's good.
Are
That's
you
good.
talking of the window door thing? Yeah, we're looking at that as a minor review.
Okay.
Andrew
Cool.
is actually helping us working on that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Okay.
so the thing is, when we have cases that people have to recuse, we can only have one member able to recuse it. The case that's put up there can only have one member that recuses, and then we have to have the other 3 attend. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Because we'll be down to 4, but I think we'll be okay, and so forth. So, and I'm scheduling a vacation in March. Ooh, not plans review week. Maybe plans. Anyway, no, it's not plans review week. But I'm let me tell you this. I'm so sick that this friend invited me to this fabulous island off of Mexico, all expenses paid except my flight. And so I said, "Oh, send me the link to the property." So I looked, and it's like I'm looking at all the reviews about the strength of the internet and if I can get on virtual meetings.
Oh no.
No, I know it's really bad. I need to take a vacation.
Without your computer.
Oh no, but I can't live without my computer. You know that. I would have to
Don't
take
get it stolen.
sedatives.
Then it's not a real vacation.
Yeah, but it's even better if I take it and then I don't get on it. You see, but we'll
How
see.
will you not get up?
All right. If there's nothing else on that, we'll go to 7, summary of public comments.
None was received, Madam Chair.
None received. Very
None
good.
received.
Okay, so let's talk about future agenda items on item 9, which should be 8.
Oh yeah, I keep doing this. Future agenda item for right now. Already, I have 3 cases that you'll be looking at. 49 North Melrose Avenue. It's a project. It's a capital improvement project in Menlo Park. Housing and Community Development is trying to rehabilitate this property in the Menlo Park. So it will be coming to you for review because it's part of the 106 review process. And then we have 901 North 3rd Avenue, which is a rehabilitation in a residence in West Cameroon, in West University. And then the 3rd case that I have is 58 West Cushing Street in the Barrio for a rehabilitation of a resident which they are going to change. It's a change of use into an office. It was first a resident. They want to change it into an office. So those are the 3 that I have for you on the 27th.
Okay, and as soon as you get review drafts of the guidelines that are coming through, be sure to send those as soon as you can so that we can look at them and say if they need to be sent back for more clarity or whatever, like we did with that other review.
Yes, thanks for that reminder, Madam Chair. The West University, I was in their meeting the other day. They only have you said they only have 5 pages of things to be reviewed by PRS. And the chair already sent it to me today. I am going to distribute, I'm going to forward that to you. And they're looking a little bit anxious to get back on plans review to finish those 5 to 7 pages. So I'm wondering, I will discuss with you and see whether we can actually just put them on the 27th.
Let's look at those pages, send to everyone else too,
Okay.
and say, hey, and PRS members get back to Michael thinking, can we do this with 3 other cases, or do we want just 2 other and that, or whatever? Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So,
Yeah, I can do that.
and the reason, yeah, go ahead.
At West University, Fort Law is about finalizing their design guidelines. I think they will finalize it this month. They have a meeting on the 24th to finalize their design guidelines, and next step will be coming to you. The Barrio is having a meeting also on the 24th to finalize their guidelines so that you have those that will be coming to you also.
Yeah. And what I'd like to, when you get the stuff from El Presidio, be sure, we all need to look at it first, but I'd like to see like a comparison of what it was before and then what it was changed. Because we've had nothing but issues about the guidelines with El Presidio, them wanting to act as though their guidelines had already been changed, or, it's just very confusing. Do you all agree that we want to see some kind of comparison of what there was? What
Or
it,
you mean from Fort Law?
That's what I meant, Fort Law, yeah, not El
Okay.
Presidio, Fort Law,
Who do?
and the justification for the change.
Okay, I'll relay that information.
Don't you think, folks? Would that be
Absolutely.
easier to review? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything
I
that
agree.
makes it easier, I'm in support of.
Yes.
Yeah, and it makes them think it through and it's easier for them ultimately. So, okay, so for the next meeting on the 27th, is everyone coming except Jan?
Yes.
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 Okay,
Okay.
thank you, everyone. If there's nothing else, no other questions, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 3:11. And I'm sorry, let me just say that we added Mr. Becker's case because he was very insistent. And it's just
Yes.
easier sometimes that
Yep.
that we complete it and we don't have to schedule it for future things. Does that make sense?
And he was very prepared.
Yeah. And we liked it, so it was helpful. All right, thank you again, Jan. You will be sorely missed.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
folks,
Yeah.
See y'all.
on behalf of us here at the Historic Preservation Office, Jan, we really appreciate all the time that you have put in to help with these reviews. And in particular, the time that you have assisted me in doing minor reviews, some of them a little bit tricky and controversial, but you have handled it very well. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That's been fun
we've
and
been
interesting.
fortunate to have you as part of the team. So anyway, take care, everyone. Have a good rest of the week and
See
happy
ya.
President's
Thanks.
Day next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.